What's up, everybody? It's Mark from Ichiban Games, and we are on to the next video for Alchemazam on the how to play of this game. So, as per usual, we will show you the video guide with all those things where you can see the timestamps in the info. You can also join the Discord where you can go and meet all the community and check out the game database, which that way you can go and see all the cards that you can have and other rules and such just to build your deck and all those things that you need to do. So, finally, there's the disclaimer. Just want to go and make sure everybody sees that. And we are ready to roll. Okay, so now we will be going over the order of operations that happen for a player's turn. I will be using the slides, and I will also be using Tabletop Simulator. Not only that, but I will be going over the priority of how players get priority during those turns and such. But first I'm going to be going over the turn phases, then the priority. So, first things first. On the beginning of your turn, there is the ingredient win condition check. If you have 3 treasure troves and 3 arcane tomes, you win the game. Next is the draw card phase where you draw a card. The next phase after that is the first upkeep phase, which goes in this order right here. All cards will refresh and become active in the ready position, meaning they are vertical, so you can use them during your turn. Then you may choose if a card that has a magical empowerment becomes magical or is normal. Then counters will apply and occur, and then triggers will happen. The next phase after that is the resource ingredient phase, where this is where you get your ingredients from. So you will either take a gold or glyph from the supply, or you will meld, meaning you will put back either 2 gold to take a treasure trove from the supply, or you will put back 2 glyphs to the supply to take 1 arcane tome. So that's how you meld, that's how you get your resources, stuff like that. Alright, so I'm going to give you a quick visual. Let's say it's the beginning of my turn with my ingredient phase. I get a gold for my turn. Say it's my next turn, and I want to get another gold so I can start melding. I cannot meld in the same turn. I can't do it where I would go and grab one of these. I can't do it. That is not how it works. I have to go for my next turn. Say this is turn number 3. Then I could meld. I could go and take this, put it back to the resource pile, and get one of these. That's how it works. And yeah. Your 5th phase is your main phase, which you can do any of these operations throughout this phase. You can cast cards, use abilities of any card that's on the field. You can make creatures that are flying, land, or if they're able to fly, they can fly. If they can hide, they can, flip over so they can hide, or they can emerge. That is if they have those empowerments of flying and hiding. You can also fuse creatures. You can unfuse them. You can morph them. You can declare links or have them ride each other. You can also equip them or unequip them, transfer equipment. So any of that stuff can happen during that main phase. Next is the combat phase, where you will have combat happen, and you will see that these also have responses between your opponent and you, and etc. But we'll just go over just the phases at the moment of it. So there is the combat phase, which you will declare combat, and then you will declare of any linking that will happen, because there's links that can happen for combat. And then you will assign attackers to where you want to assign them. Mostly they will always go to the player, but if there's targeting, you need to assign them. And then you will have your opponent will declare blockers, and then after that, damage will initiate, which damage goes for preemptive, normal, and final. So it's like three phases of if something is preemptive, it will hit first, normal will hit at normal speed, and then final will hit last. So there's that. In the main phase, you have the next main phase, which after combat, you can do any of those things that you were able to do in that first main phase. And then finally comes the second upkeep phase, which counters will upkeep for any second upkeep counters, and then the poison damage trigger will happen after that, which you'll take damage equal to half of the counter. So, of the counter that is up for the poison. So, with that being said as well, it is a special trigger as well, so you know. And then finally, the end phase, which all creatures will heal and the turn ends. And that is the end of your turn. Okay, so let's go over the rules of priority. Priority means that your opponent can respond to certain things you do. These right here are general priority rules that you just need to know. And that's kind of it for that, and then we can go over some other things with priority. So basically it's like this. In phases 1 through 4 and 8 and 9, players can't do any kind of actions or anything like that. However, unless if a card specifically says they can, then they can. But that would always be for something if there's a trigger. And only if that card says it can go and respond to do something like that. And the poison damage that happens for when poison happens to a player, that would have to be specifically for that. It's a special kind of trigger that happens for that. So do know that. And it's always stuff that's usually like a canceling effect. So there's never going to be something where it will affect an ingredient win condition check or a draw phase, or anything of upkeeps of counters, or like magical empowerment stuff, choosing that, or anything in the ingredient phase. So that stuff it won't ever be affected. Like I said, it'll only be triggers. Nothing in the cleanup phase for when creatures heal, nothing of that nature either. So for the next part, it is when a player exits any current phase, the opposing player may respond. This does not count for getting out of combat. When combat ends, it's already in the next phase, so there isn't an aftermath kind of thing. But also, there is nothing that in these phases up here either of, the ingredient win condition check and all that other stuff. This is mainly like when you say, okay, I am from my main phase, I'm now going into combat. Well, now that you've declared you're going into combat, you are going to pass priority. They get a chance to respond. If you say, I am going to go to my second main phase to basically end your turn, they have a chance to go and respond there too. So there is that. That's what happens, and it's just in those little small windows there. So there's that. So the final rule here is when a player casts a card or does any action, the opposing player may respond. So, if I was to cast a creature out on the field, in response, the opponent player can go and throw a fireball at it to try and damage it to kill it, kind of thing. Basically, if I was to go and cast a spell, and then the opponent was to cast another spell to go and cancel it, then, that is how that works too, that kind of thing. So, and then there's also the spell stack where, like, I go and I cast a creature onto the field. Well, the opponent player will respond by throwing a fireball at it. But then I respond in canceling that spell. Well, my canceling is going to go off, which is going to stop the fireball, and then my creature is going to survive. So that's basically how that goes. And so it'll always be a stack of things. So there you go. That is the order of operations, how that works in the stack, where the most recently played card will go off first, and then see if it will trigger to allow that card to go through or not of the next card in the stack, because depending on its effects. So we are going to go back to the order of operations here, where you can just go and see that there are very few sub operations where you can respond and such. So you get a chance to respond once you, from the declaring of blockers, you respond first, and then your opponent can go and respond to you not responding. And then if they did something, then you would have a chance to respond again. So there is that. In between these right here, you would be able to respond as well between preemptive, normal, and before final, if there was something to occur where it would break up each little attack there. All right, so I'm going to show you how fast it is for turns in the game and basically how all the steps are played out. So we will do a few turns between players. So I got my 5 cards. I would be the first player, let's just say that, and we will go from there. So what will happen is this. First, we'll do the win check. There is nothing to win check. There's nothing to draw for me because I am the first player on my first turn. I do not draw for being that first player. So next is the upkeep. There's nothing to upkeep. I go to my ingredient phase. So here's the ingredient phase. I want a gold. That's what I want. It's ready to go. I can put something out if I do wish, which would be this guy right here because of the casting cost. So as you can see, it is just 1 gold. There's all these other ones which are not. I'm going to go and cast it on my main phase. There's that. There is nothing I can do because this creature has stasis. It cannot attack. That's how the game condition is of the game. Is all creatures enter with stasis except for creatures with fast. Like this creature right here would be able to attack because he has fast, but this one cannot. So there is no second upkeep that will occur for this creature, and then it would be that's it. That's everything there. So the end phase happens, and I had no second main phase because I couldn't after attacking. I had no second main phase. So there's that. So pass turn. So with the passing of the turn, the win check happens. There is the draw phase for this guy, and then the upkeep and such, which actually this creature here gets an upkeep, which it happens on every player's turn. So we're just going to throw this power counter here on them, and there is that for me. And then it goes to the ingredient phase. So this guy's going to get a glyph because that is the thing that this guy can really go and try and cast. Is the smallest thing is that. So that's that there. There's nothing that he is going to cast because he can't have anything happen. And So there's no attack, there's no second main phase, there's no second upkeep for him. He would pass turn. So it's pass turn to me. There's no win check. I do get to draw a card this turn, so that happens. And then there is the upkeep switch. This will upkeep right here, and then I get to go and do the ingredient phase. So I get to do this, have the ingredient phase happen. Is there any cards? Yeah, I can put out that card. So I get to do that because it is my main phase. I get to cast it, and then I can go to combat, and that can attack. So there's that. Now, let's say I didn't do that. Let's say I didn't end up having that happen. Let's say I did not cast out that creature. Okay, I can skip my, let's say after I, got all those steps, my main phase would happen. I can choose not to do anything in my main phase, and I can be like, yeah, I'm going to go to combat. So this creature doesn't have stasis anymore, so it's just going to turn. This player is going to get damaged by 1, and then I can have my second main phase happen. So I can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and just cast this out. Boom, there's that. So that could be, and then after that would come my second upkeeps and all that kind of stuff. So there is that. So let's go and pass on to the next player. Now that it's this player's turn, the checks happen, which there's none. There is the card draw, which they get, and then the upkeeps happen, and any triggers or anything. And then it goes to their ingredient phase, which they just take another one of these, so they can go and cast out this guy right here. So there is that. And that will be their turn. So now it comes back to me. It is the win check, which isn't going to happen. Everything refreshes. I get to draw a card, and the upkeep happens. So there's all those steps there. So now I do my ingredient phase, which I am melding for the turn, which is going to give me a treasure trove. Yeah. So with this treasure trove, I really don't have anything to cast or do anything with here, so there will be no main phase. But I do go to combat. So I am going to take this guy right here, and I'm going to attack. And attack will go straight through the player, so there's that. We will get into more combat soon, but the only thing that this player can do is they can choose to let the combat go through or have this creature block. And we're just going to have them block, where this one is a 2/2/0 and this is a 1/2/0. That will end up killing this guy. So there is no damage that goes through the player, but that creature will die. I've got nothing else for a main phase, and there's nothing else for a second upkeep, but I could, on my way into my phase of my second upkeep, which I could do, I could be like, I am going to tick this down as an action, and I will get a pearl that will come in turned. So then it will go to my second upkeep, and that's it. There is nothing else. Everything heals. This guy would get his life force back, because he would have been only damaged for 1, but now he is back to normal health, and that is part of the end phase, and there we go. That's it. So, as you can see, these turns are very fast, and let's get into more. Let's get into more stuff, shall we? Okay, so next we're going to talk about casting. Everything that you have in this game is a resource. It is the resources here. It is your life total. It's counters, it's power counters, cards in your hand, cards in your deck, cards in your graveyard, all that. Creatures on your battlefield can be sacrificed. Just everything is a resource in this game. So do note that. All right, so when it comes to casting, if you look at the cards here, we have different casting costs and different colors on the numbers and stuff like that. So basically, with casting, black numbers, which like that and that, black numbers mean to use, red numbers mean to spend, and if something says to sacrifice it, it has to be that exact thing. So here's basically what's what. When it comes to using, let's take these gold. And for me to bring out this skeleton warrior, I need to use 2 gold. Now, for me to do that, I just turn them. That's all I do. Creature would come out. Boom. That's it. That's how it is. The difference is let's say this, right? Because it's red. It means to spend. So basically what this means is I need to take these glyphs, and I would need to spend. You put them back to the resource pile. That's what happens. That's what spending is. So for me to do that, let's just put those there. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cast this card, and I'm gonna use it to blow up this guy over here on my opponent's side. So there's that. It's done. Goes to the graveyard. Well, I don't have any more resources of those glyphs anymore because I did that. So that's how the spending works. A gold is a gold, a glyph is a glyph, right? But a treasure trove is an infinite resource of gold, and an arcane tome is an infinite resource of a glyph. Now, what that means is this. It's an upgraded resource. So it being an upgraded resource, let's say I wanted to go and cast that skeleton, and I had a gold and I had a treasure trove. Well, I could still do it because this is an upgraded resource. So I can do that, and it would come out. If I had 2 treasure troves, I could go and do it. It's an infinite resource. But the thing is, it only counts as 1. That's the thing. It only counts as 1. So that's how that works, is that arcane tome and the fireball here of how things work. So as stated, glyph and arcane tome. An arcane tome is an infinite resource of this glyph, but it only counts as 1 when you turn it. So what that means is this, is you can spend the glyph, but you would turn the arcane tome because it's an infinite resource, which would still bring this out. It's upgraded, and it would go and hit that creature right there. So there's that would happen. Boom, done. So basically all you really need to know is that the glyphs and the arcane tomes are glyphs. They're not going to go away when you spend them. Same thing for using creature abilities. What would happen is, okay, I want to go and create a web here with his ability. I'm going to get rid of these 2, and then I am going to turn this. And that's going to make my web, which I'm going to plop on that guy. So it doesn't matter if it's creature abilities or if it is casting out of your hand or whatever. You are able to go and use those resources as how you are. Just remember, it's resource management in this game. So that's how that works there. One other small thing too is, let's say you wanted to bring out the skeleton warrior, and you had a runestone. Now, runestones are little wild resources that basically you sacrifice them to get things out on the field and do what you wish. So this, to bring out this guy right here, I would have to turn this, and I would have to get rid of that, which would be able to let me bring it out. Because this acts as a wild, but it's like a one-time use thing. So you get rid of it, you know? And then, let's say I wanted to do the same thing here, but I had two elemental resources. Well, two elemental resources of the same kind equal up to basically what a runestone does. It's a gold ore glyph on that. So, yeah. So I could be like, all right, I'm going to turn this. I'm going to get rid of these. Boom. Oh, cool. Guy's out. You know? So that's that. So there's only one other thing I really need to show, and that is when it comes to equipment. So let's put him back up. Let's say we have this equipment on the field. As you notice, we have an equip cost on this card. So what does that mean? Okay, it's equip 1. All that means is just you need to turn a resource to equip it. So boom, this guy is equipped. There it is. That's it. Very easy, very simple. You could go and get rid of a runestone to do that. You can get rid of 2 of these to go and do that. That's it. You could turn a treasure trove or an arcane tome. That will get that on there. So that's it. That's all you really need to know on all that stuff and casting and all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to go over the steps of the combat phases and damage. Basically, these are all the steps that happen while in combat. You can declare the combat. Your opponent gets a chance to respond. You declare any links that would happen. Your opponent can respond. You assign the attackers and targeting attackers where they're going to go. After that, your opponent gets a chance to respond. And then also they will then declare blockers. And then after blockers are declared, you get a chance to respond. And then your opponent gets a chance to respond even though, like, say you pass. So there's that. And then damage initiates, which there is the preemptive damage, the normal damage, and then the final damage. So, and in between each of those, your opponent has a chance to respond, and you have a chance to even respond in certain ways. So, some things to know about attacking and target attacking. When declaring attacks, cards will all attack at the same time. Attacking cards will always attack the player unless they are targeting an attack, meaning like they will target another card on the field. So there you go. Target attackers can attack any card. So that means you can attack even your own cards with a target attack if you wish. Attacks are a physical attribute. So just know when you're target attacking, something might have anti-targeting on it, which it can not be targeted because targeting is a physical attribute that way. If you are playing a game with multiple players, you can have your creatures attack those other players, not just one. you can go and split up however you wish to do that. So if I wanted to, say, have two creatures attack player one directly, and then player two, I want to attack, maybe say I have a creature with targeting, I want to attack something on their field. I can say, hey, I'm going to go and attack player one with these guys, and I'm going to target attack this creature on player two's field with this one, and there's that. And then they would have their chances to block from their field. So there is that. And those players can't multi-block helping each other. They can't do that, so either way. But just wanted to let everybody know that for the multiplayer games. And cards turn when you attack. You just turn them. So there's that too. Blocking. Blocking a card halts all damage that would be given to a player. So you just stop damage that's coming through. You can block with multiple cards on one attacking card or whatever. Cards with targeting that get blocked result in a standoff. And I will show that coming up. So some things about damage. Attack versus defense. That means the attack of a card will subtract the defense of a card. When blocked by multiple cards, the attacking card gets to delegate where the attack goes to those blocking cards for the multiple amount. So attributes are always applied when attacking or defending. So that's any of the little quirks that cards might have. And then in fights, fights are combat based. Fights are just like forced attacks from abilities and such. There's combat scenarios, which we're going to go and show in a moment. But basically, check those out right there. And then attacking or blocking empowered cards. You can only attack or block any empowerment that saying that you can do so. That's basically it. But flying empowerments can block flying empowerments. And basically, any other cards like hidden or magical empowerments, they can't block each other. Flying is the only ones that can block each other. Okay, so we are going to go over those 4 combat scenarios. Right here, we have scenario 1, which is this goblin right here. He is creature A with 1/1 stats, and this opal oyster has 1/2. So let's do this. The opal oyster is going to attack. So creature B right here, being an opal oyster, he's a 1 attack, 2 defense. He's attacking. This goblin is going to defend. He's a 1/1. So a 1 attack hits the 1 defense, and then the 1 attack of the goblin scout is going to hit the opal oyster 2 defense. So the opal oyster's 1 attack is going to kill the goblin scout because it's going to make it go to 0, and then the goblin scout is only just going to do 1 damage to the opal oyster. The opal oyster is going to live, is how that works. So remember, it's always attack subtracts defense. Next, we are going to do a scenario of 2 creatures that have the same attack and defense. My skeleton warrior is going to attack, and this goblin here is going to block. So it is a 2/2, hitting a 2/2, and this 2/2, which is the goblin brute, is going to hit the 2/2 of the skeleton warrior. What's going to happen? They're both going to die. That's what's going to happen. We also have this scenario, which is a 1/2 for the opal oyster and a 1/2 for the wasp. The opal oyster is going to attack. The wasp is going to block. The opal oyster is 1 attack, 2 defense. Wasp is 1-2 as well. What's going to happen? They're going to bounce off each other because they only do 1 damage to each other. That's it. It's just a stalemate right there. That's all that is. And finally, we have the last scenario where the Opal Oyster, that's a 1 attack, 2 defense, is attacking. And the Goblin right here is a 2 attack, 1 defense. Well, what's going to happen? Well, the Goblin blocks, and both are going to die because it's 1 attack into 1 defense and 2 attack into 2 defense. So, there you go. And the last thing to really show is the double blocking, where I'm going to take this Arch Arachnid that is a 3 attack and 3 defense, and it is going to attack. And these goblins right here are going to block. This one is a 1-1 and a 2-2. So that's 2 attack plus 1 attack that is blocking a 3 attack. This 3 attack is, I get to delegate here the damage that I want to do. I'm going to take 2 of the attack here and have that go to 2 of the defense there. And I'm going to have 1 of this attack, have it go to that one. So what's going to happen is the 2 attack plus the 1 attack equal 3 damage power to this creature's 3 defense, and this attack split up amongst its blockers, because I get to choose, is going to be 2 attack or 2 damage here and 1 damage here. They're all going to die. So that's what's going to happen in this scenario. Now, in this scenario, where we would have, say, this creature here, this creature is a 1-2. So we have a 2-2 and a 1-2. Let's say that I attack and, they both come in. That's 2 damage that is going to go to the Arch Arachnid by the Goblin, and 1 damage from the Wasp into the Arch Arachnid. However, here's the thing. This Arch Arachnid, I've got to go and delegate the attack. So I can do 2 damage to this Goblin, or I can do 1 damage to this Wasp. But that Wasp has 2 defense. So I have to split this up. One of these creatures is going to die. That's what's going to happen. And one's going to survive. So me delegating, seeing who I want to kill, do I kill the Wasp or do I kill the Goblin right here? So that's the choice that you just have to go and make when you are delegating those attack points for damage for creatures. So, and lastly, I want to show what the targeting standoff is when something happens. So, as you can see here, I have a Sage Sniper, and it has targeting. So, what that means is that I can choose to go and attack something instead of hitting the player itself. So, what's going to happen in this scenario is the Sage Sniper is going to attack the Arch Arachnid here. The Arch Arachnid has 3 attack, 3 defense. The Sage Sniper it has 3 attack and 4 defense. It also has preemptive, so it's going to hit the Arachnid before it gets hit by the Arachnid's attack. So, but here's the thing. These guys, this one's a 2-1, and this one's a 2-2. So, the Calderis that's a 2-1 can come in and block. The Skeleton Warrior is going to come in and block. Now, what happens is this is a standoff. This creature here, especially because it has preemptive, is going to hit the Arch Arachnid. But what's going to happen is the Calderis and the Skeleton Warrior are going to hit the Sage Sniper. So that is going to happen there. So basically, it's a standoff scenario where this one is going to hit this one, and then these guys are going to hit this one here. So basically, the order of operations is this does 3 damage to that. This Archarachnid is going to die, but then it is going to come in where the Calderis and the Skeleton Warrior are both going to kill the Sage Sniper, which the Sage Sniper isn't going to give any damage to these guys because it already inflicted its attack at the Archarachnid. So that's what's happening. So this creature is going to die. These guys are going to survive, and obviously this one died. So that is how it works in that scenario for target attacking. And finally, just a little something a little more, I guess, advanced is I'm going to show you where you can do a ability prior to damage and blocking and other things using this Calderis and some interesting stuff it does. So let's say that I have these creatures here, which is a Goblin Thief being a 2/1 and this Skeleton Warrior being a 2/2. I'm going to go and have them attack. So I've got these guys attacking. That's what's happening. This Calderis that is a 2/1 is going to block. So let's say I have it block this Goblin Thief here. Okay. Well, remember, when a creature blocks something, the attack will be blocked, so the damage will not go to the player. If these guys are both attacking, at least 2 damage is going to go to the player because there's no other creatures in the line here. So what could be done, though, is say this Calderis, which just because of what its magic ability is, it can turn to sacrifice itself and then deal 2 damage to a creature or player. So what basically it would do is, this player is going to block, then it is going to turn and sacrifice this for that being the priority, and then it is going to, kill the Calderis, exploding it to do 2 damage to this Skeleton Warrior. Skeleton Warrior is then going to die, which means it's not going to do damage to the player. This Goblin Thief was blocked, so 2 damage is not going to happen to the player either. So no damage occurs. The Calderis is dead, but also the Skeleton Warrior is dead. So do remember that because of the priority and because of what happens in this being an instant ability for instant speed, you can do things like that during combat. And one more example of something like this, which is pretty cool, is let's say that I am going to attack with my Skeleton Warrior. That is a 2/2. It gets blocked with this Goblin Thief, who's a 1/1, and also gets blocked by this Poison Wasp, which is a 1/2. So that ends up happening where I am going to die by the 1/2 and 1/1, but I would go and be able to kill one of them. Well, they block, and then after blocks, I get priority to do something, which I'm going to use the instant of Fireball Blast, and that does 3 damage to any target. So I'm going to blast away this Wasp right here. That Wasp dies. 3 damage to a 2 defense. So it's dead. It's overkill by 1. And the blocking, because it was, the delegating, what do I delegate? Well, I'm only delegating to 1 creature now instead. So I'm going to end up killing this Goblin Scout right here. Because it's a 1/1, this is a 2/2, I would have died. All those creatures are now dead, and my guy is surviving. So that is one other little trick that is there for when it comes to spells or abilities during the combat phase. Thanks, guys, for checking out the portions of the rules. There will be more to come for next video, and thank you so much for having interest in the game. Remember to check out the Discord. You can go and see everything that we got going on and meet others that go and play the game. And then also remember to check out the game database with all the cards that you can go and see, which would be great for deck building. So cool. Remember, you can play the game on untap.in and also on Tabletop Simulator. Untap.in is free, and hope to see you soon. Thanks again.